Here we are with what is truly the final Vocaloid release of 2014, as well as the introduction of the next generation of Vocaloid voice banks. On November 20th, 2014, Yamaha revealed the Vocaloid 4 engine in a live stream on Nico Nico. The Vocaloid 4 editor went on sale in December, and its release has been peculiar for several reasons, not the least of which being that here 2 months later it is still not available for purchase outside of Japan. The same thing did happen with the Vocaloid 3 engine update, but you'd think Yamaha would have gotten its act together this time. I'm thinking that the release of the V4 engine in December wasn't originally planned, as the V4 engine debuted with only one Vocaloid release. The V3 engine had 4 Vocaloid releases on its launch day, but V4 only had 1. I don't know if the Christmas shopping season is as important in Japan as it is in the US or Europe, but if so, I'm thinking that that's why the V4 editor was released in December. What was the Vocaloid released with the new engine? Well, that was VY1V4, developed by B-Plats and released on December 17th, 2014. While VY1V3 was one of the launch voice banks for the V3 engine, it was merely an update of its original V2 voice bank that added triphones. VY1V4 is a completely new package, and an impressive one at that. The Vocaloid Yamaha series has always occupied an odd place in the franchise. VY1 and VY2 have been considered among the highest quality voice banks of their generation, and their V3 updates were competitive and high fidelity, and they are both extremely popular vocalists. Yet they don't seem to have done very well in terms of sales. They don't have as many songs as their contemporaries despite their high quality. Some of this has to do with the lack of representative characters for the VY series, but as much as I believe that the success of the Vocaloid franchise has hinged on avatars, not every single Vocaloid needs a character. The VY series was designed to be a clean, professional product, and it is. Perhaps Yamaha simply didn't promote the VY Vocaloids enough to warrant greater adoption by the fandom, as they were clearly created for the professional market. But whatever happened in the past, VY1V4 is a huge change to the formula, and it is really shaking things up. If you didn't watch my November 20th video about the Vocaloid 4 announcements, here's a brief rundown of the new features and abilities that the Vocaloid 4 engine offers. There are numerous small improvements and additions over the V3 engine, such as displaying pitch visually on the piano sheet, and the pitch snapping mode, which makes it easier to set the pitch for an entire song. While the V3 engine introduced triphones to the Vocaloid franchise, V4 voice banks will have more triphones recorded than V3 voice banks, which will make them sound smoother. But the two most significant new features for V4 are growling and cross-synthesis. Growl is a feature which will only work with V4 voice banks, as it requires new recordings that were not done in V3 voice banks, and it is very neat. There isn't much to explain as far as growling is concerned. It's a time variable adjustable parameter, and you'll hear how it sounds when we get to the song demonstrations. Cross-synthesis is more complex, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't really know how it works. But first let me talk about VY1V4's voice banks. Unlike VY1V3, which was a simple engine update, VY1V4 uses completely new vocal recordings and comes with 4 voice banks: normal, power, soft, and natural. All of these voice banks have a very broad recommended tempo range of 60 beats per minute to 200 beats per minute, which covers just about any genre you can think of using a Vocaloid for. Normal, power, and soft are easily understood, but the natural voice bank is a voice bank type we rarely see. VY1V4 is not yet being sold outside of Japan, so we'll have more details later, but the consensus so far seems to be that the natural voice bank is intended to sound more like VY1's voice provider, who, after all these years, remains anonymous, while the other voice banks are voice-acted, like most Vocaloid voice banks are. They all have different vocal ranges, but they each cover a wide range, further emphasizing VY1V4's high quality and professional inclination. I wanted this VY1V4 video to also be about the V4 editor so I could explain the new engine in more detail, but it's still not available outside of Japan. You can of course import the V4 editor, but it's not currently being sold on the English Vocaloid store, so you need to use a forwarding service. As for cross-synthesis, it's abbreviated to XSY, and it allows a second voice bank to modify the sound of a bass voice bank. The cross-synthesis feature will work with V3 and V4 voice banks, but it's limited to voice banks from the same character and release. But the idea is that, for example, you can have your primary voice in a song be, say, VY1V4 normal or natural, but you could cross it with soft to soften the edges of notes or words, or cross it with power to add emphasis. If used properly, it's not necessarily something that is obvious when you first hear a song that uses it. It's a system designed to give voices more flexibility and to give producers the ability to get exactly the sound they want. Not every V4 Vocaloid will have multiple voice banks, but VY1V4 is a great showcase release for the new feature. Keep in mind that though the Vocaloid 4 engine is out, there are some V3 engine Vocaloids still being developed and released. This primarily concerns the Chinese Vocaloids, such as Xinhua, who was released February 2015, and the unreleased Vocaloids Ling and Laura. They all use the V3 engine. It's not exactly known why Chinese developers have decided to forego V4 voice banks for these Vocaloids. Perhaps they were too far into development to switch, or they didn't see the benefit, or perhaps switching engines would cause confusion among their customer base. There's also Uni, the upcoming new Korean Vocaloid. We know very little about her, though she is supposedly due for a summer 2015 release. Since she has not been announced as a V4 Vocaloid, it's probable that she will be released as a V3. As for VY1V4, if you already liked VY1, then this update is like manna from heaven. But if you thought VY1 was nothing special, well, prepare to have your mind changed.
Come on, come on. けゆく吹き抜け踊る風に乗り夜の分地へ輝く月がその横は踊られる冷たく光る左手は波をつかむ崩れゆく世界のかけらの瞳が石の木を片手に肩に歩く終わりなど見えない仕組みなのだからそういうことは諦め一つ一つもう一回僕を抱きしめてもういいよと言った僕の涙は落ちた過ぎた皆の上にいる僕が答えに座っている降りないなら痛くない降りないなら一人で解けない魔法のような音に話を覚えてる続きがまだまた話すね暗い海に浮かぶ二人が寂しくないように神様がきっと少しだけきっと許した時間重な